Building is one of the most important parts of Smite. A good build is truly the difference between you living or dying. Now, in this video, I will be breaking down the fundamental components on how to build gods and how to think about building gods, so that you can begin to understand what I'm going to be calling building theory. This video is not going to have any math. I've learned from my mistakes. Now let's just dive in. Smite gives you the ability to build 6 items to augment your character's stats. All items in the game have attributes that signify what you're going to get when they are purchased for gold. That means you have 6 items to get your character to be as useful in their given role as possible. Here's how I think about building. Your first 3 to 4 items are what I'm going to be calling the core of your build. The core of your build does not change too much game to game, but it is very important to do what your goal is for the late game. So let's talk about this. If I'm playing support, the core of my build would be defensive items that augment both my defense and my team's defense. So items like Heartward Amulet, for instance. Yet, if I'm playing mid, I would need to build into a more damage-oriented core to have the ability to deal damage throughout the entire game. Therefore, defense would not be a part of my core in mid. So that takes care of the first 3 to 4 items. What constitutes the core of any god's build is dependent on what the god is and what the god's playstyle is. And for the sake of time, I will not be covering every single god here. It's just not feasible. If you have a specific god you want to see me cover, leave a comment. I'll get to it eventually. But that means we still have 2 to 3 more items that fall into the flex category. And this is where I see most players get confused and begin to make some mistakes. The items you build in these final spots directly relate to how the game has been going for you and what things you're trying to prevent or augment going into the late game. Let's look at 2 different examples from all the different walks of life across the Smite map. The first example being Nausea in the jungle. If I am Nausea, the core of my build would be, let's say, Boots, Jotuns, and Transcendence. If things start going really poorly for me, and I'm really far behind, I don't think it would be beneficial for me to continue to build into damage. Therefore, I would want to be tankier. So, I would opt to build into Void Shield, Spirit Robe, and Mantle of Discord to round out that build. Now, on the contrary, if I got super far ahead as Nausea, then I would want to build the rest of my build to help take someone off the map as quickly as possible and really augment my damage. So I would opt in a Runeforge Hammer, Deathbringer, and a Heartseeker? Something, power-oriented. It all depends on how the game goes. The second example is something like Khepri Support. Again, as a support, the core of my build would be something along the lines of Boots, Gauntlet of Thebes, and Sovereignty or Heartward Amulet, depending on which carry is the bigger problem at that point. Now, if I was behind, it would be obvious that we're going to be doing some base and tower defense. So I would build into Emperor's Armor, Shogun's Kasari, and maybe a Spirit Robe. These team-oriented items that augment those around me in the structure, in this case with Emperor's Armor. Now, if my team was ahead, this would shift to me not being under towers as much. So the flexible part of this build would have to change to something like Hide of the Urchin, because it would be easier to stack if we're ahead, Spirit Robe for my own sustainability, and maybe something more team-oriented in that last spot, like the Shogun's Kasari again, because I like that item, but that very much depends on what ADC is on my team. So from our examples, the one thing I want you to take away is that your build is not locked in from the beginning of the game. If you're getting farmed in mid, build a defensive item. If you're super far ahead in solo lane, try flexing into some hybrid damage and defense items so that you can get some more damage out with your lead. Builds are meant to be flexible. If we were meant to build the same 6 items every game, they wouldn't give us so many different items to choose from. I hope this all makes sense. Again, if there are specific gods you want to hear my opinion on how to build them, leave that in the comments section, along with any questions you might have. That's all for now. I'll see you guys in the next video, and have yourselves a casual day. Take care now.